Good afternoon, Francis Schaefer, Precision Soil Management, Redfield, South Dakota. I'm going to discuss a trial we did of in-furrow application of a product and the impact on not just the yield, but on the economic return of that product. This is the field we used. This is a soil management zone map delineated by my business partner, Jim Miller. And it has zones 1, zone 2, 3, and 6. Zone 1 is a nearly level, thick topsoil, very high production. Sits a little lower in the landscape, can get a little wet if it have rain events or a big snowfall in the winter. 2, nearly level, medium topsoil, high production. That's a soil you can always get planted if you can get to it, and you'll always harvest it if you can get to it. Zone 3, gently sloping, medium thin topsoil, medium high production, eroded knobs, soils higher in pH, lower in organic matter. 6, swale positions or those slight depressions. They're very thick topsoil, very high production, a very high organic matter, and normally very, very high P, phosphorus and potassium levels. So that's the field. Here's the planting map that shows the different rates that were applied. That's a recorded map. And if I transparency this, you can see the image underneath. It shows you 3 is a lower population. The 1s and 6s are higher populations. The 2 is somewhere between those. Here's the trial. It was an in-furrow application of water generate, which is a microbial catalyst, which stimulates the microbial activity that increases the availability of NPK and other nutrients that are in the soil to the plant. In-furrow puts them by the roots. So for little plants, that's the best location. Or nothing, no starter. Ran it, didn't have anything in the tank. Here's the harvest map. This is the harvest map. So you can see 215, 350. There was pretty big areas of really good productivity in this field. You can see around this wet hole where it was challenged by wetness. The headlands, you can see those where you have turnaround or speed change issues. And so this is the entire harvest map. What I analyzed was that, because that happened to coincide with where the trial was. So that's what I did. That's what I did. I compared the zone map to the harvest map, the yield. So it's a yield by zone by starter trial. And when I did that, these are the results I got. When I do this, I always make sure I sort it so that the average dry yield goes from highest to lowest. So here are the zone numbers. Here are the 2 areas we examined. Here are the yield difference. Here's the number of acres, so it's a significant number of acres. So I'm going to trust these numbers are believable. Zone 6, the two trials, water, generate, ignite, no starter. This one has over a 21 bushel an acre yield difference. That throws a red flag for me, and I always go look at acres when I see one of those. So this isn't that significant of an area in the field or in the trial. So I'm not sure whether I'm not going to make a decision based on that particular um, sample. Zone 2, the no starter actually out yielded the water generate and ignite by 1.2 bushels, 1.23 bushels, and those acres are significant. That's one I have to pay attention to. Zone 3, water generate and ignite, it's 5.5 bushels better, and those acres are also significant. So if I was simply going by yield, I would say we have to run with water, generate, and ignite versus no starter. We can't run with no starter. We're not getting the yield. That's the wrong question. Is it economically viable? Economically, what's the best decision? So I exported out that table and these columns and these columns came from the export. I added these columns so I could do some math, some formulas. So this is the starter cost. Water generated ignite, 1860. No starter, zero. This is the yield cost of the product. So since this was the highest, there's no yield loss. Subtracted, you get 3.1. Taking that times 4.81 and doing the math, these are the costs for each product in zone 1. I go to zone 6, had that huge difference, 21.7 bushels times the selling price. Well, that cost me $104.57 an acre, but it only had 0.334 acres. So I'm going to not make a decision based on that one. Zone 2, the no starter was 1.2 bushels better than the water generate and ignite. So you have a total starter cost of 0, and here's 24.52. And you can see zone 3, these were the starter costs or product costs for zone 3. That still doesn't tell me the whole story. So what I did is I did the total yield by trial. I took the acres, multiplied by the average, added them all up in each trial, and I got these numbers. Here's the acres for each trial. Here's the average for each trial. The water generate and ignite got me 2.5 bushels an acre more than nothing. So I'm thinking, okay, that should be the end of the story, but it's not. Because I need to know what my revenue minus the cost of the starter is in order to decide which is more economically beneficial to me. So I took the average yield times my selling price, and lo and behold, no starter comes out $6.33 better than water generate and BX ignite. Now, that gets me down to the economics. It tells me no starter was a better deal. But it only tells me no starter was a better deal in this growing season, in this field, on this crop. So I've done other fields, and no starter economically, where it showed up in a field, was always the most advantageous economically versus water generate and BX ignite, or another trial of starter. This is the starter they used, 825.400.5, and generate. Economically, the no starter was always the places it occurred, which I think there are only two, it was better. Water generate and BX ignite was always economically better than starter, liquid starter fertilizer, and generate. Now, why did that happen? Um, we don't know. Now, does that mean we're going to run with no starter this coming year? I would recommend against that. I think we're going to run in furrow with generate and biological and water. And then, of course, we're going to run with nothing as a trial. This is Francis Schaefer. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have questions, um, shoot us an email, shoot us a note, give us a call. Thanks for listening.